Hi, this is Lynn.
And this is Paul, and we are
Along the Way.
Glad to have you with us again. And this time around, we're going to be talking about something I am totally ignorant about, and that's technology, which means I'm not going to be talking much at all. But I'll throw in a little bit here and there if it's appropriate. But how does the small church handle the needs for technology that we all face today? So, fire away.
Well, last year we had COVID and churches had to close and we had to go to online services and nobody had ever done that. And so the easiest thing to get us started was for me to take my iPhone and get a little microphone and start videoing the service and play it live on Facebook.
Which we did, and it wasn't necessarily pretty all the time because we had little issues like getting instead of the landscape view, we had the vertical view and how to adjust that. But the fact is, we did it. We didn't not do it because we didn't have all the ducks in a row.
And we didn't go with Zoom because that cost money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that our church couldn't afford it. We're kind of tight in our church about not spending money that we don't need to.
Yeah. We it's kind of a policy. We don't want to spend money we don't have to spend, so we can spend it on things that are worthwhile and preferably prayed through and planned up.
But COVID hit us.
Yeah.
And so, we started where we could.
Mm-hmm.
And most of you in your small church setting have cell phones.
Yep.
And most of you have a cell phone that can videotape. And it was, I think, $60 for the microphone. And then because of the generation of the iPhone that I have, I had to get an adapter to take the 1/8 jack into the USB 3 type jack on the iPhone. Actually, 3 or 4. I think it's 3. But in either case, that's next to nothing in the grand scheme of expenses. So how do you make use of that? With Facebook, it was easy. Facebook is free. Facebook you can put a church page together and put it online and have your people sign up for it, and then the people who are in Facebook and on Facebook can watch the service. But what other pastors did, we saw one who would give the daily word. He just took his phone and videotaped his daily word to his congregation. It's a way, everybody's schedule's different. Everybody's, in COVID, we were all tied into our homes and we couldn't go out this way and we couldn't do that. So how do we socialize? Now, Zoom allows you the format where more than one person can talk and you can be in a group setting. And that allows for some interaction. On Facebook, with your live feed, people can type in, but you don't see them. So that's the advantage of Zoom, is to have a meeting like that. So you have to decide what's best for your congregation. Are they viewing on a phone? Are they viewing on an iPad? Are they viewing on a computer? How are they viewing this? And how are they listening to this? Now, some of our elderly who had hearing issues, when it was on my phone and with the inexpensive microphone, had hearing issues and they couldn't hear it and make out the sound well enough. our church has grown since then with someone donated a beautiful camera, someone donated a multi soundboard with a whole lot more channels, and we can videotape the service, and we can have the PowerPoint on, as well as the message or the people up front, if it's the worship team and all of that. That's all there. But that's if you've grown and graduated to that.
Yeah, if I could speak into that side of it a little bit. One of the things that happens when you do take that initial step and you do something as basic as using a cell phone to record your service, that's going to do a couple of things immediately. One is it will connect you with those who are stuck at home and desperately want to be engaged. That's huge. The other side effect is that you realize, and the people on the receiving end realize, the quality is not so good. They're glad for it, but the quality is not so good. You've only invested a little bit of time and money. So the next step is increasing that. Even the $60 that she talked about at the beginning, I'm always very careful with things like that to go to our board and get permission. Because, I mean, I could have spent it and they wouldn't have said anything. But when you get permission like that, they're investing in it, just saying, yes, we think this is a good idea. Once that initial investment happens, everybody wants the quality to go up. And so we didn't go to the board and start begging for money. What I did do was say, if we want to continue this, we're going to need a better camera, we're going to need a better sound system, et cetera, et cetera. And that becomes a prayer matter. And then it becomes a prayer matter for the church. We fully intended on the board level to save up the money to get the equipment we needed. And there were some people who were already beginning to volunteer some pretty expensive stuff like hardwire and things like that. But before we came close to getting the money, people started donating quality camera. Another church in the area
Donated the camera.
Donated the camera.
It was
like
a $1,500 camera. They donated it for free.
Yeah. We just prayed. We didn't even put the word out to other churches. They heard about it. You know, the Lord knows how that came together. But that's what happens. You realize that here is an area of ministry that we've been squeezed into. We step out in faith. We do what we can. And then the Lord multiplies. So don't be afraid to do a little with what you have. Take advantage of that. See how God's going to grow that.
Yep. An email. It's old-fashioned and text messaging. That's almost passé now, but it's not. Both of those are ways to keep in touch with your congregation.
Yep.
And the question is, you know, how do you allot time in your very busy schedule to make connections? Well, during COVID, it was easy. He wasn't on the road doing visitation, so he could spend the time and write the email or make the phone call. His visitations were that way. But listening to what people need, where they're at, finding out what's going on with the individual lives of your members is so important.
And technology is a great way to enhance that, especially when there's crises, and technology can come to the fore where you might have been plan B in the past. That being said, when you upgrade technology, it's always important to keep in mind what the purpose is. The purpose is always about either outreach, making disciples, or body life, maintaining a healthy church body. And you don't want technology to take the place of that. So even when you're using technology to connect with people, keep in mind that that is a layered connection. It's not face-to-face. You want to get back to the place where it's face-to-face. I think it's just,
and that's the issue now. People are having is that people are enjoying and enjoyed going to church in their pajamas and just sitting back, and then we also found out that some people would turn it on but walk into the other room. And they weren't paying attention. They weren't
engaged.
They weren't engaged. And they were using that as their excuse. Well, I was online. Well, then how did you not hear the announcement? One incident recently where a gentleman called the pastor and said, well, I didn't hear about that. And yet it was mentioned in several services, 6 times, several different services. And so obviously he wasn't paying attention.
And that's the thing. Technology, again, is great, but it has its limitations. It is not the same as being together in person. And realistically, none of us can, quote, go to church remotely. Because church, by its very definition, is the assembling of God's people. And so you thank God for the ability to be able to reach those who can't assemble in person, whether it's for pandemic reasons or for other
Health
causes. But that's, the assembly of God's people is what church life is dependent upon. And we don't want to be dependent upon technology when technology eliminates the assembling. So always keep in mind what the purpose of the church is and what your purpose is for technology, why you're using it, and understanding its limitations. But it's good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, we're using it right now to connect with you. And
that's what we're doing, is what they call a vlog, a video blog. And it's there, and it's something you might want to consider. Is there a Bible study you could do using your cell phone, using the camera on your computer, and share the Word of God? Challenge your people. Whatever. How can you creatively use this technology? But as he warned, there's the caution: do not neglect the assembly. And sometimes as pastor, assembly means you getting out there and visiting your people so you can assemble with them. And that is often overlooked, because the attitude is we go to church, but church is where you go and gather. And we need to shepherd our people, and not all of them are walking on the same pasture land.
That's right. So to the very best of our ability, face to face, whenever you can. And even this vlog that we're doing here, I mean, ultimately, we'd love to visit you in person. And so this becomes a possible doorway into a future relationship with you on a more personal level. And hopefully that'll come about.
Because our goal is to help others, and to help them build their church, and build it towards the return of Christ. I mean, we are out. We have that responsibility. So use the technology. Think creatively.
Recognize its limitations. And step out in faith with what little you have, and see how God is going to grow that, so long as you're using it to glorify Him. So, hope this has been helpful.
I'm Lynn.
And I'm Paul. This is
Along the Way.
And we'll see you along
down the
way.
road.
Take care.
Bye-bye.